Hello, everyone. This is James Pelton. I am here with Robert Doyle, my good friend. He's also known as Crypto Sensei. Robert, welcome to the show. Before we get to you, though, Robert, audience, appreciate you guys. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you guys are, loving life and living the dream, all the things. Need from you as we're getting started here, please hit the like button. That's pretty much the main thing that we need from you guys. It's totally free. There's not a reason not to do it, but it helps out so much. We're going to be talking today about utility projects. Again, something that struck me was somebody tweeted, this was a couple weeks ago, but they said if crypto went away, it really wouldn't affect life very much. And I thought about it. I was like, you know what? You're right. It would affect obviously us in the crypto realm, but day-to-day life, my parents, my grandparents, etc. No, crypto's not doing anything yet. So we're going to talk about some things crypto might be doing, what you should have on your radars. And I bring in Robert to do this because that's what his focus has been. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. So hit the like button. If you have any questions or particular things you want us to talk about, bring those up and we'll talk about those. And I cannot multitask, but I'm trying to just share this link out. If you guys want to share the link to this YouTube video, please do that. Let me do that 1 second here.
You're all good, man. All good. It's hard to multitask.
I am a terrible multitasker. I can't do there's a Russian proverb. He who chases two rabbits catches neither. And I experience that pretty frequently. If I'm trying to do two things, I can't do either correctly. So, Mr. Doyle, can I call you Mr. Doyle?
That's my father, but if you'd like to call me that, I can't stop you, James.
Okay, maybe I'll call you Robbie. Robbie, can you start off by just quick introduction again? I think most people probably know you, but quick introduction, and then we'll jump into some utility projects.
So I'm Robert Doyle. I've been in the space about 5 years. I started in the space looking at something XRP, and that started a whole different way in my life that I was heading. I didn't leave my house for like 3 months. I've been, just grinding information. One thing led to another. I ended up loving crypto so much that I wanted to teach people about it, because I knew that if a certain number of people were to understand the technology and really get involved with it, I knew that they would like it. And one thing led to another. We created a community called Cryptonairz, Discord community, and that grew in the last bull market to like 2,200 people. Since then, we've lost a lot of that due to the downturn, people not getting into certain projects and different things, but we're still fighting the good fight. Since then, we've opened up an audit business, DeFi Sentry, and we've been doing different audits for different companies in the blockchain space. And I just come here today to just provide value, and hopefully I can educate some and point them in the right direction, and just trying to help as much as I can in the space.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Appreciate the work that you do, the research that you put in. So maybe let's start with this before we get into the utility projects. Can you kind of let us know your thoughts on DeFi? And you used to be big into the degen stuff that I do a lot of, but you've kind of moved out of that. Do you want to kind of just tell us why you've moved out, what that experience was like, and just tell us a little bit about that?
So DeFi was amazing, right? Late 2021, there wasn't a project we really didn't get into that we didn't like either make a nice return on, or people were just throwing money at the board, and whatever stuck. And it was a lot of fun. And then the market changed, and when the market changed, I really saw. I think it was CoinGecko puts out a quarterly report on, how much money is being invested into each space. And we saw a huge decline of money going into the DeFi space. And this really kind of put some warning bells in my head saying, hey, if there's not enough money going into DeFi space, I don't think, we're going to see as big returns. And I just felt that it would be better if I taught my community about real utility and what's going to make it after regulation comes. And I've spent the last year in 2022 and early in this year in 2023 educating my community on probably about 40 to 50 in particular projects that I think will make it through regulation and that will flourish. And if those projects flourish, then if you own that cryptocurrency or that digital asset, then you shall enjoy in those gains of corporate adoption and central bank adoption. So that's really where we were headed. And that's where we did a huge turn. And you know, we did lose a lot of DeFi people, but I think a lot of people were happy in a way that, you know, we weren't just kind of shilling the same DeFi project, you know, to the community, and really kind of engaging with real utility and what that involves and everything about it. And so once we made that switch, you know, it was really nice. I have, you know, let DeFi projects in, but those are DeFi projects that were thoroughly looked at. You know, we looked at the contract, we look at a bunch of stuff on the team. And so we still work with some DeFi projects. It's not like all DeFi projects, but we did really cut back about 90% of the projects we would let in normally. So we, you know, we didn't want to get our community too involved in some of these projects that might not make it, right? You being in DeFi long enough, understand that 8, 9 out of 10 of these projects might not make it through the first, you know, 3 months, 6 months, or a year due to any number of problems. And it gets difficult when you're in that type of market, and, you know, and there's not a lot of money to be put into some of these projects. Long answer.
Yes, nope, absolutely, totally agree. And we got Crypto Lax here. Good to see you, brother. Chance, good to see you. Funny Turo, you are everywhere. I appreciate you, man. Davis, good to see you as well. Yeah, if you have any questions or things that you'd like Robert to talk about specifically, please bring those up. But maybe, Robert, maybe you can start. You can tell us kind of which utility projects you're really big on right now. Like if you had to pick maybe 3 or something like that, or you can organize it however you want to. I'm just trying to give you some framework, but let's start there.
I appreciate that. Can I call you JP? Is that cool? I always want to call you JP.
Oh yeah, right. JP. That's awesome. I like that.
I like that. All right. So when it comes to utility, the first thing we need to look at is who's going to adopt the technology and why. What problems does it solve, right? On a world scale, not just in your you know, your country or your, you know, your community, right? And so when we really do that, we need to look at what regulation is coming and what, you know, what different standards are being set around the planet. And when you really look at it, you look at what's happening in March, right? In March, the big bang implementation of ISO 20022 messaging standard comes into play. And what that will allow is certain banks, institutions, and companies that you know, have this new messaging system to be able to use digital assets to do different things, right? Make payments, move value, you know, create NFTs, create digital securities, stocks, bonds, and all that kind of stuff. And I really focused on who is ISO compliant. And, you know, we started there first, right? And so there's six projects right off the top of my head that we can go into that are ISO compliant. Those are your XRP, that's your XTC, your XLM, your IOTA, your ALBTs, which had a little issue recently, and we can talk about that. And then there's like Quant, and there might be 1 or 2 other ones that I'm leaving out. Stronghold is going to be ISO compliant. Their partnership with IBM connects them kind of with Stellar. And so I just talked to my community about Stronghold. But really focused in on those first. And then we branched out into some other utility projects. Algorand, HBAR also are on that list. And you should really be researching those projects if you have not, because Algorand is huge, especially in Italy. All the banks in Italy are adopting, you know, ISO standards, moving to this new system. And, you know, Algorand's been launching stablecoins and working with banks there. They got some really big connections in Italy for that. So I focused on those projects first, and then we got out into some other stuff. But those were the main ones that we really drilled down on. And every week I do 2 chats in my community, Tuesdays and Fridays. These chats go about an hour and a half. Some even go an hour and 45 minutes because there's so much news to keep people updated on. And this is really good for the average person who doesn't have, you know, 300 hours a month to dedicate to crypto research like I do, right? And so I update these people with everything that's going on with all of the ISO stuff, with all these banks and central banks and what's going on with regulation, and let them decide what they want to do with their, you know, their money. All I can do is introduce the information, keep them updated, and allow them to make their best decisions.
So can you, when you talk about these utility projects, what's your approach? Like, are you accumulating right now, or are you waiting to see what the market's going to do, or what are you doing right now with these?
So we're in kind of like, I wouldn't call this a bull market. I'd call this a, you know, a bear market kind of pump, right? I think by the end of last year, a lot of people were selling and doing different things to get ready for taxes. Once they did that, we get into 2023, and now people are buying in. A lot of stuff is connected with the stock market, right? Stock market pumps, crypto pumps. But really, I do think we are going to head down for some lower prices, depending on what happens with the Fed, and different things like that. But I do think we need to be careful about the current market. So I've been DCAing into stuff like I just bought about 250,000 more XDC to add to my bag. So I do DCA into certain projects, and then I do keep a bag of stables on the side in USDC, not USDT, because of USDT is pretty much a Ponzi. Yeah, I do think we're going to have some lower prices coming up here in the next couple of months.
Okay, so it might be good to wait, or do you kind of just I can't really follow, all these things. So I just DCA, I turn on a DCA bot and I don't think about it again. And then I come back and, I've got $40,000 worth of quant. That's kind of nice, things
That
like
is
that.
nice.
Yeah. So is that how you do it, or do you watch the price? Do you do TA, or how do you kind of accumulate these things?
So James, so since this ISO migration is going live in March, there could be certain tokens that do get affected by it if certain institutions decide to use those assets to move value. So those assets might move against the market in a way that we have never seen before. We're really trying to understand that a little bit better and what might happen. But March is a huge month. I'll be talking about it tomorrow in my chat. The Eurozone, the entire European Union's payment system is going live with real-time gross settlement systems. And that is going to really open the door for faster payments across borders between those countries. And as other countries adopt similar payment systems, which they are at an alarming rate, because they understand that, you can move $500 million worth of XRP for under a cent. That is a reliable source that people and corporations can use to move value across the planet at the speed of light and not have to really pay out of the pocketbook for all of that money being transferred. So I do DCA when I can, but I don't have a special bot that does it for me. I kind of be like, hey, this is a decent price. Most of all this stuff, James, to speak with you, this is long-term investments, right? If I woke up tomorrow and XRP was at $5 and $10, I wouldn't sell any of it, because I know it's still not there for its full intended use case, right? And that's what I'm here for. I'm here for life-changing wealth as these new technologies get adopted and used over the globe.
That's a great question. How do you take profits with a long-term hold? That, because I've run into this where I have a coin that I'm kind of DCAing and it's kind of a long-term hold, but then it has a big pump and it's like, well, should I sell some of it, or how do you think through that and handle that?
James, if something jumps 100 or 200% a day, it's always a good idea to take a little bit off and then buy back at a lower price, if that's in fact how you do that. So I always leave a small bit, maybe 10-15%, where I'll do that. If I'm in a much more riskier asset, like a DeFi asset that is just new, that I'm just into, and it's pumped 100%, I'm for sure taking profits, because that's how those things go in DeFi. You'll have 100% pump in one day and then a 60% retracement, and then it'll go up again. But really, I need to figure out, are these investments for the long term, or are these investments for the short term? And once you figure out which those two books or whatever that you have, then you can start making strategies and how you should take profits and do different things in the space. I'd recommend talking to a financial advisor. Obviously, me and you are not those, and really kind of maybe have them have a strategy. Make sure they understand crypto assets and digital assets, because that's super important. But it's always a good idea to take some profit when you can on a good day, because rainy days are ahead for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And one thing I've started to notice too is a lot of it depends on your real life situation. Like if you think this is going to go up another 5x and you don't need the money for anything now, then you might as well just let it kind of ride. But if you're, sometimes you have real life expenses, you have a kid going to college or whatever the case might be. So then that might determine your timing a little bit as well.
Well said, James. That's exactly right. And it's always situational, right? To the person and to the situation and what you're dealing with.
Awesome. So here's a question from Davis. If we want passive income, not just token appreciation, do you find that there's some of these utility projects that provide passive income? or are they mostly you're relying on token appreciation?
So Davis, that's a great question. I appreciate you typing it out. It's really difficult when you get some of these the high end utility projects, right? Because they don't have 100% staking or whatever, right? And so you have to be very careful with places that do offer some unrealistic staking stuff. If you want really good passive income, you really should stick on the DeFi side of it. It's very difficult to take like Algorand, for example, or XRP or XLM or any one of these, right? Nexo had I think like 15% staking on XRP, stuff like that. I had some XRP in there, but I pulled it back last year after all this market, uncertainty. I'd say it's more difficult to find safe havens, safe places to put your crypto, right? Because when you have your crypto on an exchange or on one of these maybe less reputable situations or websites or whatever, or D apps, there could be issues, and your all of your liquidity, all of your crypto could disappear overnight. So there's certain cryptos that I keep in my ledger, and they never come out, right? You just got to understand, when you look for passive income with real utility, there is or could be an issue with where you're staking it or where you're keeping it. Just be conscientious about that. And if you want like really good gains and different things, there are some DeFi projects, as James probably talks about all the time, that do offer some of those rewards, but it's very difficult to find proper for those higher end cryptos.
Yep. And if you're wanting it safer, follow the revenue. So if a project like Ripple is not making a ton of revenue right now, so if Ripple was paying, if there was somewhere that Ripple was paying out, 80% APR, if you stake your Ripple or something like that, you'd have to ask yourself, hey, where's that coming from?
James, I gotta correct you. It's XRP. Ripple and XRP are separate. I gotta correct you, my friend. Sorry.
No, that's why we bring you on, is because you're all over these things.
Yeah.
This is a good question. So I've been huge on the AI train. I love ChatGPT. What do you think? Do you see crypto and AI together, and what are your thoughts on that, and how that's going to affect, and how can people profit from that? Some thoughts around that.
James, crypto and AI have already been implemented. There's like 50, 60, maybe more AI projects currently. And we've actually been talking about all of this in Cryptonairz, and we've been making some crazy gains on AI projects lately. I am actually giving a full-fledged chat on 6 to 8 top AI projects next week in our community that we've been working on for several weeks. But there are so many AI projects that are coming out that do work with, different utilities, right? So you got to understand, first thing you need to do is, what is this AI project solving, right? And is there another project solving this same situation or whatever, right? So some are in supply chains, right? Some are working with, on the ChatGPT on information and data sets. Some were working on trade bots. Some are working on just different things. So you really have to understand how how AI is integrating with this project, and what problems or situations are they trying to solve that are going to be profitable for me and you in the future. And once you can kind of figure out some of those projects and really start to dip your toes into those, that's where you can really find quick gains. Because you got $10 billion by Microsoft to buy a piece of ChatGPT. People are FOMOing into AI projects, not really understanding what their full utility is. So there has been really good opportunities in the last couple months, and we've been bringing as many opportunities as we can to our community.
Okay, awesome. And I left a link in the comments and in the description if you want to join Cryptonairz. There's a lot of educational pieces there, and then there are also not as much in this market, but there's calls of, hey, this coin we think it's coming out and it's going to do well, and passive income plays, and there is some of the degen stuff too. You haven't totally abandoned the degen stuff, right?
No, there's people in the community that find things themselves and they share, and they're, it's a really a good group of people, solid community people that share ideas and share information with each other. And everybody needs to make their own decision on what they get into or what they buy. But if you're really looking for information, we have more information than you can consume, in I don't want to say in a lifetime, but every day, we have 10, 12, 13 people that are on the team. And then we also have the community. And then we also actually, I pay for, there's a community called M-Ocean. And M-Ocean's like another Discord, and they provide calls and they provide information. I actually have a group account for that. And so all of their information is sucked into our Discord too. So you have that Discord, you have our Discord, and then you actually have, if you're in NFTs, we have somebody that has an NFT Discord and they bring all of their plays in there. If you like charting, we have a chart specialist. The guy's a rocket scientist. He just graduated. So he's a legit rocket scientist, and he does charting and different plays for people in the community as well. So there's just a wealth of knowledge depending on what you want to learn. And it's really up to the person to get going and do the due diligence themselves.
Okay, love it.
Thanks,
Paul says, yeah, Cryptonairz community Discord, really good, highly recommend. Yes, absolutely. And sometimes people talk, just a couple thoughts that I have is sometimes people talk about, oh, I don't want to pay monthly or something like that. But if you are investing, if you are putting any significant amount of money into different crypto projects and things like that, well, then to me, like a little bit of a monthly fee to be well educated on what you're doing is worth it. Okay. Now, if you're not really putting any money into anything and you're just messing around, then yeah, I mean, maybe, $60 a month or whatever doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, if you're putting $1,000 into this project and 500 into this project, it's worth putting a little bit of investment to make sure you know what you're doing. That's my take.
And really, like, you have to pay for anything you do in life, right? If you go to a gym, you have to pay a subscription to use the gym, right? The only thing I know of is free is the library. But finding the right community, if Cryptonairz isn't the right community for you, if you learn a different way, or if you're not interested in the subjects that we teach, find a place where you fit in, that you feel welcome, that you can ask questions, get a real answer, and you don't have to worry about getting taken advantage of, because that's another thing too in crypto. There are a lot of people and bad actors in the space. Me personally, man, out of all of the DeFi projects we speak into, and we've literally had hundreds, if not thousands, go through in the last 2 years that we've looked at. We've never taken a dollar from these projects to talk about them. And that's really what kind of separates us from other communities. They'll take money and they'll, bring something forward that they don't believe in, or they don't do their due diligence in, just because they're interested in making some side money. And we're never going to do that or put a project or a person in that situation, right? We want to be able to, if a project comes in on Tuesday and they do something shady on Wednesday, I'm going to be saying, hey, why are you doing this shady? What's going on here? I went after Horde hard when they were having their parties and everything was great. And, and a month later, they're talking about, going down rewards, or there's nothing left there. I literally went after the team. I'm saying, guys, you're sitting there telling people everything's great. You're having parties. And when, everything behind you is on fire, that's not right. And, I think you've stepped up several times calling people out and projects out. And we really need to keep people and projects accountable in the space if we're ever going to have a legitimate space to work and to play in.
Yep, absolutely. Mountain Brother says the AI project basket's up 3,580% since Chat GPT launched. Yeah. And that's a good reminder too. A lot of times coin prices is based on hype. So you can kind of just keep your eyes, same with stocks. You can kind of keep your eyes on, hey, what's hyped right now? What is everybody making YouTube videos about? And then you can kind of follow that and know, oh, okay, Chat GPT is going to make even though not all AI projects have anything to do with Chat GPT, some AI projects aren't doing anything different than they were doing a month ago. But they're all up because Chat GPT has brought attention to them. So
very true, man. And Fetch AI, Tau, Singularity Net, Via, also known as Viat, those are really good, solid AI projects that we've been talking about lately in the community. There's also a bunch of other ones that I didn't have kind of written down, but I'd say those top 4, those are solving real issues currently in the crypto market. I can't remember what each one does. It's hard to keep all the AI projects synced in my brain because there's so much stuff going on. This one does this one does this. But if you really, because crypto is a lot about trends. What is the trend currently? And currently we're in an AI trend, right? And we went through the nodes trend, we went through the DEX trend, we went through the NFT trend. Now we're really in an AI trend, and really understanding which AI project that's launching or has launched has real value, has real use case, and those are the ones you focus on. And understand they're going to have, we're going to do this, right? And when the market dips, there's going to be really good opportunities to get into some of these that are really going to change the way things are, companies move value, move things around the planet, and you can take advantage of that if you understand the right project to get into.
Yep, absolutely. And Richard says Bard is coming from Google to compete with ChatGPT. Yeah,
Yep.
I saw that they announced that. I think because Microsoft, I think, is planning to use ChatGPT to replace Bing.
Yep.
They realized, hey, we can't compete with Google on just straight search engines, so we're going to do something crazy. And then I think Google's been doing Bard in the background, but they feel the pressure now. Hey, we got to get this out. ChatGPT is going to take up so much of people's attention where they're going to just associate ChatGPT with AI. So
yep.
Competition is good for the space, in my opinion. So it'll be cool to see how that
Google's very worried. Absolutely. And they should be, right? Because are you going to Google search something or are you going to ChatGPT search something? And if you ask, the majority of older people are going to be like, I'm going to Google something because they don't know about ChatGPT. But the younger crowd and the people that are our age are going to use these technologies to make our lives easier, right? It's so simple now, right? I remember going to middle school, right? No cell phone. We didn't have computers on every desk, right? You put in a floppy disk, you played Oregon Trail. That was a computer. But these days, everyone has a cell phone and the power to really look up anything they want and really stay informed. And the people that want to do that are going to do that. And Google understands that they need to make some changes quick or they're going to be irrelevant very soon.
Yep. It's always advancing. Yeah. What I love about ChatGPT is it basically, when you Google what office chair should I buy, you get all these different websites with here's the top 10, here's the highest rated. You go to ChatGPT and you can just ask and it'll synthesize all that information for you. And it's a better experience. It'll save time. So I'm excited to see where it all goes.
No ads too, right? That's the value of it.
Yep. No ads, at least yet. It'll probably come, I assume, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So does anybody else in the audience have any other questions or anything? I want to take those priority if you guys have those. But Robert, I would like to. So if I have a limited amount of capital, okay. In theory, no, not in theory, in reality, I have a limited amount of capital. We all do. What three? I'm going to have you narrow it down to three. But what three would you say, hey, these are the three that you should look into and really get to know? I think these will be the three big ones that might blow the roof off and change the way we do everything.
Okay, so the first one's XRP, obviously. If you've done the due diligence and if you've done the research that I have, that Ripple covers 90% of the FX market. So if they in fact want to take over the world and use, Ripple and XRP, 60% of all Ripple transactions are with XRP now, using ODL. So that is definitely the top one in my book. Just looking at all the connections, the IMF, the BIS, the World Economic Forum, right? They go to the World Economic Forum not because what they believe, right, to meet new people, because all of the biggest governors of or finance ministers are there, right? And that's why Ripple was there in January. So that's definitely the top one. Second would be XDC, XinFin. The reason is because R3 Corda. And if you've done this little rabbit hole dig, that R3 is really connected to pretty much everything, right? So how this is going to work? James, do you know what the DTCC is? I know we talked about it in the past, if you remember.
No. How about you tell us?
I got you. Depository Trust Clearing Company. They cleared in 2020. They cleared $2.3 quadrillion. In 2021, they cleared $2.39 quadrillion, quad and then trillion. So 2,000 trillions plus. So they are clearing the FX market, sells bonds, stocks, things like that, right? Something called Project Ion. Project Ion was the last 6 years moving all of those payments from a Swift system, old system, to a digital system. And they use R3 to do that. And R3 has bridges to XRP, bridges to XLM, and other bridges associated with R3. And so all of those transactions, right now they're processing 100,000 to 160,000 of those DTCC transactions per day. Soon they're going to be clearing all of it. And when they start clearing all of the money that goes through there, that is when you can really see a rise in token price and value. But they're also working on tokenizing securities. They're also working on TradeFi. TradeFi is a 19, 20 trillion a year market. They're working with a company called NGO, ENGIO, I believe it is. NGO is working on digitizing trade documents, and a really good person to follow on this on YouTube, on Twitter, and YouTube is Utility Theory. He has incredible knowledge. I invite him into our community to do private chats with our community, and he has all of this research, and he's really incredible. So go follow him and start learning from him. But that is really what they're working on, is digitizing securities, digitizing stocks, digitizing bonds, and bringing that value onto the XinFin network. So that would be my second pick. My third pick, I'm kind of torn between Quant. Of course, Quant is interconnected with everything, and Casper. I really like Casper Labs. The reason Casper is important is because they're one of the first or bigger crypto companies to bring in changeable smart contracts. Changeable is not the right word. Mutable smart contracts. So they are, so let's say you're a Fortune 500 company and you spend all this money on this platform, you roll it out, and a couple months later, something happens, you need to upgrade that and do something. In today's smart contracts, they're immutable. So you cannot make changes, you cannot upgrade them. With Casper Labs, you can. And so big Fortune 500 companies, a lot of whom have NDAs and can't announce yet, are working with Casper Labs for that. Also, Casper just partnered with IPWE, and they're bringing 25 million patents into NFTs. So all of the patents is the biggest NFT mint. It's going to be the biggest NFT mint in history. 25 million patents are going to be digitized and brought onto the Casper blockchain. That is huge news that not a lot of people are talking about, or not a lot of people know and understand. So we've been stacking Casper since like September of last year, like around 2 cents, under 2 cents. It's around like 4 now. But Casper does have a bright future, less token supply than your XRP, less token supply than your HBAR. And really, I do think Casper is one to beat in that space.
Okay, very good. No, thank you. And then just to recap the three. So again, if people are just looking for the tokens, you said XRP,
XDC, and I'd say Casper.
Casper.
Obviously, Quant is if lower token supply than Bitcoin and more utility than 99% of the crypto market. If you're not looking at Quant on the side, please do so. It's very important. And I do see Quant being a 5-digit token in the next 5 years.
Yep. Totally agree. My top 3, I think, were XRP, Quant, and I think HBAR was my third one.
Who got you into XRP, James?
You have talked a lot about it. But you know, the icing on the cake was what you mentioned about the World Economic Forum. Because from my experience, the World Economic Forum is going to get what they want. They're going to control things. That's just what they do. Yeah. And they are officially partnered with Ripple. And it seems like they're wanting, I think they would love to do their own thing, but Ripple's technology is just so far ahead where it's like, well, we got to use what is there. And so I think Ripple will be legit. Some DJ said Ripple 100%.
Yeah, and you got to understand that XRP is different from Ripple, right? I know.
Yeah. Sorry, I keep using them interchangeably.
You're all good, James, and a lot of people do, but XRP is its own ecosystem, right? There's NFT projects being built. There's companies building on it. There's all kinds of other things happening other than what's happening with Ripple, right? You got to understand that Ripple is just one company in the space. There's so much more being built out on it, right? And you got partnerships with Visa, MasterCard, American Express, BNY Mellon, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. I mean, I could go on, but when you start looking at all of those companies, you really have to say, like, what's left? Who are they not partnered with, right? They've got Citibank partnerships, Goldman Sachs partnerships. I mean, it goes on. And you really need to understand this is going to be used. There isn't another cryptocurrency that has as many partnerships, that have had as many meetings, that are working with as many central banks. That's also about it too, right? Who's working with what central banks? And they just came out. They're working with Montenegro, right? They're working with Palau. They're working with, I think there's only 3 that have been announced, but they said they're working with up to 50, right? And I think there's only 63 in over. I don't know I think it's 63, but understand that they are going to move a lot of the world's money. And it's not just moving money in value, it's what is going to be brought onto the ledger. Debt, right? You got to understand that there's $300 trillion in debt in the world, right? And if you start bringing in home loans, car loans, any type of thing and digitizing, bringing it onto the ledger, that is going to add value to the ledger, and that market cap's going to go up. Most people think like, well, retail buyers are not going to put in $1 trillion. I get that, but you got to understand institutional buyers are going to use this to bring value, right? Bonds, stocks, right? Derivatives. Derivatives is a $600 trillion market. They're digitizing derivatives and bringing them onto ledgers. All that value. Gold is being digitized. Oil is being digitized, right? Everything about, they're talking about carbon now, right? Water is going to be digitized. I mean, everything you can think of value is going to be digitized, brought onto these ledgers, and that value is going to bring all of this up. And that is when you're going to really see stupid numbers for digital assets, because they need to have all that liquidity to really make everything work and flow. And once they bring that value on, James, it's going to be lights out.
Yes. And Yadsmi says, are you saying, in your opinion, are you saying buy and hold these three, or look for opportunities within these three ecosystems, or maybe both?
Yeah, it's going to be both. These digital assets, I'm not going to sell regardless of what price they go to. I mean, if we woke up tomorrow and XRP was at $1,000, I'd sell 10% or 15%. But I do think it's going to keep going up in value, in my opinion. These are long-term holds for me. I think by 2030, you're going to have even more, over half the world, maybe even more than that, digitized. It all depends on what happens with our current system, right? We do have a fiat-backed system here in the US. Our money's not backed by anything, and other countries are waking up to that. They're understanding that buying US Treasury bonds and having that, that risk of the of the dollar, excuse me, the regular dollar. Countries like Saudi Arabia I just started moving away from using the US dollar to trade oil to using, between Russia and China, they're exchanging oil and different things out of the US dollar. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, guys, I'm talking about the petrodollar. And so that is what has really brought a lot of power to the US over the last several decades, is being able to, all goods and services and oil traded around the world were traded in US dollars. That is coming to an end currently. If you look at what's happening in those places that I just mentioned, they already stopped using it, right? Because what happened was when Russia invaded Ukraine, Russia was sanctioned by the US and partners, and they ended up locking Russia out of billions and billions of dollars. Countries like Saudi Arabia and other countries in the UAE, they looked at this and said, well, if I don't do or say what the US and allies want, can they cut me off from all of my money? And so these guys are moving away from trading in the US dollar. And we talk a lot about this in the community, because, if the US dollar is not as strong as it was, what happens to the stock market? What happens to all of this? And all these other things have implications of what's going to happen in our economy. And so you got to follow all of that stuff as well, because it's changing ever so fast.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot to follow. And again, that's why I'm thankful for bringing you on every few months. And it's not something that I can look into every day. So
yeah, DJ said it. Russia's new gold-backed stablecoin. There you go. I mean, asset-backed currencies are a thing. Understand that. Like you have Brazil and Argentina talking amongst each other about creating a digital currency for both of their countries. You have states in Africa creating a common currency, right? The US's strong power is coming to an end in the entire globe, and their slow shit reaction to give proper rules of the road and to companies to build in the US. Companies are going to the UK. Companies are going to the UAE. The UAE has 500 crypto startups. 500 crypto startups, because they laid down the rules of the road, and people feel confident and safe building in those countries. So the US has already lost God knows how many amazing people and amazing companies, and if they continue to regulate by enforcement, we are going to be a joke on the digital assets front for the foreseeable future. Period.
Yep, absolutely. I like Quentin. Oregon Trail. Life was so simple back then. Yeah, no, totally.
It
Instead
was.
of rug pulls, we just had to worry about dysentery. That's all the
Oh
problems that we
man,
had.
and then you like circle around with your like bow and arrow. Oh, dude, it's bringing me back, man. It's bringing me
Those
back.
are the good old days.
Those were the good old days.
Do you
Um,
have an opinion on the Ripple lawsuit ending, and what will that affect,
yeah,
and what will that do to the price, and just what's your opinion on all that?
I got it all, baby. No, so I don't think we're gonna see a settlement. I think it'll go to a judge decision. I think the Ripple, I think they had like 22 or 23 attorneys working on the case. Stuart Alderati is the main one, but I do think they are going to get a favorable decision. I do think it could go down like the SEC might win, but the second sales of securities in the open market aren't registered as securities. Ripple pays a fine and they move on. The one thing the SEC does not want made public is the Hinman emails. Um, the Hinman emails are a thing that are really like scared. The SEC is scared that they'll come out, and they really understand the full calamity of what a shit show it has been. Ripple got sued in the last day of office of Jay Clayton, right? They had to vote to do it. They got a tremendous pressure from the Ethereum Foundation to do this. And if you go and you dig up all of this stuff, it's all there, right? Ethereum did an ICO. It was 1,000 Ethereum for 1 Bitcoin, or if you wanted more, you could create false identities to buy more and do all kinds of shady shit. It's all on video if you go and look for it. But I do think it'll come down to a judge decision. And then we'll have to go from there. I think Ripple will win no matter what, whether the SEC has a slight win. But we really want to, the main part about all this, guys, is we want the secondary sales of XRP not to be securities all over the world. Every other country understands that XRP is a digital asset. It doesn't matter what the SEC thinks or what the SEC does. They understand that, and they actually just had the library case, which ended last week, and we talked about this in the community. But the library had something similar where the secondary sales of library tokens were considered securities, and so at the end, they made John Deaton went and spoke for, I guess, the people, or he filled out an amicus brief, and so he got to speak to the judge, and he wanted clarification on the secondary sales of library token in the open market. And the judge made the SEC come out and say, hey, those secondary sales are not securities. So it was definitely a big victory for library on that front. And the token soared right after. So I see similar to XRP. I think XRP go to $5-10 realistically if that does happen. But that's still not going to be what I'm here for. I'm here for the real world use case and adoption by central banks and banks to use XRP as a bridge currency to facilitate global trade. And that's where I think it's heading.
Okay. Thank you for that. A couple more comments, and then we'll probably wrap up here before too long. So if you have some last minute questions you want to ask the sensei about, Richard says, don't let the World Economic Forum win. I don't really look at it as, I don't like the World Economic Forum, but just from what I saw with COVID and different things, they kind of got what they wanted. And so if they are going to get what they want, then it makes sense to profit off of it. So that's the way I look at it, but I'm not like for what they're trying to do or anything like that. It's just, if I know they're going to be trying to do something, then I'll, put some money there. So
Klaus is pushing, I think it's standard development goal, SDGs. And you have Larry Fink from BlackRock, who is a big pusher of the WEF's goals, right? And so BlackRock owns shares in like CNN, they own shares in Fox, they own shares in all these different companies, and they all push the narratives between each other, right? We're so busy fighting each other over dumb shit that governments are allowed to do whatever they want and create whatever they want and push it down on us because we're too busy fighting each other. We all need to wake up and understand that certain things are being pushed on us that we're not going to like in the future. And if we don't stand up and say something and vote for the right people, that some of our freedoms are going to go away. And central bank digital currency is one of those things where the government will be able to control what people spend money on if they so choose to, right? Because they can make it programmable. They say they're not going to, but from learnings and different things in the past, we understand when the government says they're not going to do something, they end up doing it anyways. And so they can really start deciding what people spend money on, right? If they do something like UBI, universal basic income, right? Let's say a black swan event happens, and a big problem is the banks, right? The banks have like $9 trillion in deposits, and they only have about 2% cash on hand. If you went, all right, I put together a video last month where the FDIC had a big meeting, right? You had all these bankers around a table, and they're talking about bail-ins and all these different things that are going to happen in our economy very soon. And they talk about banks not having enough liquidity, and how if people found out about this, there would be bank runs and panic, and not to let this information out of the meeting. And so that stuff leaked. It's all over Twitter if you've watched those clips, but they're expecting a lot of turbulence here in the next couple months, and we need to be prepared for all outcomes just in case.
Yep, absolutely. Good advice there. Well, let's go ahead and wrap up here. So again, if you guys want to know more about this, I'll have Robert on once in a while. But if you really want like day by day to learn about these things, go hop into Cryptonairz. I think it's a great community. There's a lot more. People say, should we join Cryptonairz or join your community? Well, mine is going to be a lot different. Mine's mainly focused on the same type of stuff my videos are on, side hustles. And I have a lot of degen stuff, and I focus a lot on passive income. I'm probably never going to put the level of research into like Ripple that Robert and his team will do. So, maybe join both. I'm in several communities that just offer different things to different people. So that's how I would look at that.
James, let me share something real quick before we get out. Can I share my screen real quick?
Yes, absolutely, you can.
All right. So guys, understand. So this is my chat for Tuesday. All of these tiles up here is my chat for Tuesday. This is all up-to-date news, and this is actually going to keep going after I get done here. I have to add some stuff to it. But if you really want to take your knowledge on what's happening right now around the world and take it really to the next level, and really start to understand the technology and what it's going to do and who's using it and why it's important, do some due diligence yourself. If you don't have the capacity or where to start, where do I start researching? We're a great fit. If you can do your own due diligence, you should start today. Also, before we go, around the world, you're starting to see stablecoin regulation. You see it in Japan, you see it in the UK, you see it all over the place. The reason that's important, guys, is they're rolling out wholesale CBDCs this year. Starts in March. Big bang implementation in March, and we're going to talk all about it. But that is extremely important. They need stablecoin regulation so they can move value in between each country. You're already seeing retail CBDCs for me and you, right? Wholesales for the banks, retails for me and you. You're seeing retail CBDCs launched in India. The digital rupee is getting very popular there. A lot of people are starting to use it. The biggest retail store chain in India is just accepted. So they're going to be able to allow, CBDC payments through all of their stores. It's like a snowball, and it's gaining speed. So understand that the last couple of years, a lot of stuff hasn't happened, but it's all starting to happen now, and it's all starting to happen very quickly. And you need to be on the right side of all of this so you and your future can be prosperous. And really, we are going to make value, and we're going to make plays off what's happening in life. And if we can get rich or improve our lives by what's happening with banks and central banks, why not do it? It's going to happen anyways. You need to really do the research and understand. And once you start doing that, different things start to happen in your life. You start teaching other people about it because you're so interested in it, and you know how impactful it's going to be. Oh, and if you have if you need an audit, please reach out to us. You can DM me. We've been doing audits for BioFi. We're working with Disc. We're working with a bunch of other companies too. And we'd love to work with you and your team.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And one thing I thought of what you were talking there is, so a lot of these things you've talked about, like Ripple and what, Quant is doing and all these things, these are going to happen whether or not you are involved in them. So this isn't like a lot of the projects that I bring in where it's like, hey, this project needs your money or else they're not going to be able to accomplish what they're looking to do. No, when we're talking about these blue chips and these long-term plays, it's pretty irrelevant to the project if you watching these, 100 people or whoever end up watching this if you get in or not, it's not going to affect Ripple. Okay. So like you can come in, somebody said Ripple's garbage, please stop, or XRP, excuse me. I'm going to start making sure I use the right wording now. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is, do you want to be involved in what they're doing long term? So yeah, I want to just specify that.
Before we end, Cumulus fan, he says Bitcoin was invented to get rid of the middleman, yet some of you want to support XRP and making bank. Let me ask you this: what banks or companies or anybody is using Bitcoin to move anything of value? Nobody. Who promotes Bitcoin? The biggest holders of Bitcoin. The majority of regular people own either like half a Bitcoin or 1 Bitcoin max. It's never going to be used. And you can say, oh, what is it? Strike. You can move value for $1. If you live in places like Africa or, places where money is not raining from the skies, right? $1 is a lot of money. Why would I use Bitcoin and move that value for even $1 when I can use XLM or XRP or anyone else for pennies? You're not going to. Bitcoin's is pretty irrelevant. I know, a lot of people feel like it's the first, it's the last. It's a store of value, and it's only a store of value for the people that believe in it. And if the WF has its way, Bitcoin will be gone in several years from now if they have their way. So would I rather buy 1 Bitcoin or 60,000 XRP? 60,000 XRP, because that's going to make me way more money than 1 Bitcoin will. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that rant. And also, Kumals, I would specify, I'm not, that's what I was trying to get across. I'm not supporting XRP. It's kind of irrelevant. They don't need my support. They're going to do what they're going to do. Yeah, Robert is. Personally, I'm kind of neutral towards it. I'm just, when I look around, hey, what do I think is going to get adoption? What's not? You can look around at what are the banks using? What's the World Economic Forum using? Because that's going to show what are the governments interested in, what are they attacking and things like that. So I don't look at it as, if you buy XRP, I don't look at it as supporting XRP. It's just, I think it's going to be successful long term, and I would like to be a part of things that are successful long term. So that's how I look at it.
You know what it is too, James? It's when you're sending money back and forth between banks or companies or even people, if you're sending over $10,000, there needs to be KYC, there needs to be AML, there has to be all of these things. And with Bitcoin, you can't do any of that because there's not a centralized party to be able to do that. And that's why it'll never be ISO compliant. And that's why it'll never be used to move value. It'll only be used person to person. And if that's a good thing to have. I'm not against Bitcoin, but I'm saying I'm looking for mass adoption by bigger players so I can make money to feed my family, and so I can take trips just like you, James. So I'm not against Bitcoin. I just think there's other things you can buy besides 1 Bitcoin, and you can have a lot more value for your money that you're putting in.
Yeah. And we're talking about utility here today, and Bitcoin doesn't have utility. I mean, they're trying to hack it to do, like the Lightning Network, and they're trying to.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah.
Yeah. So they're trying to hey, let's manipulate it and change it, but so, and to each their own. Go, you can buy Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin will go up 3-4x here in the next 10 years. But I think XRP has the potential to 10x, 20x, 100x over the next 10 years. So again, it's just, diversify. I have Bitcoin, I have some XRP. So that's how I do it.
Beautiful.
Awesome. Well, hey, audience, you guys have been splendid. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate your adding to the discussion. Kumals, no hate for you. Appreciate you bringing up a different opinion so we can kind of tease that out a little bit. Please hit like on your way out. Again, link for Cryptonairz if you'd like to get in there and learn more from Robert. And Robbie boy, appreciate you coming on, man. Appreciate you. And just your friendship. And again, some of you don't know this, but Robert was kind of one of the first people that I got to know when I got into crypto. And so it's just been fun to kind of go on this journey with you, and appreciate it, and hope you do well.
I hope you do well too, JP. Thank you guys. And thanks for watching. I appreciate you. If anyone ever needs help, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to help you with whatever I can.
Yep. Thanks, everybody. Hope you all have a great rest of